in Titus chapter 1, verse 2. Ep elpidi zoes ioniou, hein epengelata ha apsudes theos prakronon ionion. Looking at the New American Standard, in the hope, there's the hope is the elpidi, in the hope of eternal life, which God, who cannot or who never lies, who cannot lie, promised long ages ago. So, and again, we have a few prepositions to look at. So, ep elpidi, or here, the NASB calls this in the hope of eternal life, or upon the hope of eternal life. Again, as with most prepositions, there's going to be a decent amount of options. Founded upon, onto, upon, by, against, for, and, over, because of, in order. So the list goes on. 21 different entries within DBL for potential significant specific shades of meaning. Looks like the Logos tagging has this as 89.27. So Lunina 89.27 would have this entry being and because of, so on the basis of a marker of cause or reason. So again, that could be quibbled with, but the idea of in the hope of eternal life or because of the hope of eternal life, again, this is connecting to back at the previous verse, the apostleship of Paul. So his bond service and his apostleship is for the sake of the faith of the elect and their knowledge of the truth. And then also it is with a view towards or in hope of eternal life, because of eternal life, as the Logos tagging has it. So because of eternal life, again, that forward-looking view of his apostleship. And then here we have a relative pronoun, which, you can see that is the pronoun accusative singular feminine, which, and then now here we have a finite verb, unlike in the last sentence. Before we look at the finite verb, which is this next verb aorist right here, so here we have a verb. First we notice we have ha, which is a nominative article, so we're expecting to see a nominative, and there's nominative theos. So here we have the subject, which God, so here's the subject of this verb, which God, and then apsudes is a adjective. So free from all deceit, there's truthful or free from all deceit is the idea here. So, or the not pseudes, the one who does not lie. So free from all deceit. So the never lying God, the truthful God. I think, so we have in NASB, it's God who cannot lie. In NIV, which God who does not lie. In RSV, who never lies. ESV, God who never lies. And then LSB, who cannot lie. So some consistency there, the idea of God's inability to lie or his truthfulness. So this eternal life is what's being commented on here by this relative pronoun. And the reason we know that is because life here, I'll box this out. Life here is in the feminine. And then we have the relative pronoun, which matches that life in gender and in number. So God, the God who never lies specifically, and I'll actually draw this one out. So we have, here's the relative pronoun. Well, we're not going to diagram the whole thing, but the relative pronoun, theos, and then this is ha, and then apsudes. Which God who never lies, and then here we have our verb, promised. just going to abbreviate that. Promised, and then the object of what is promised is that relative pronoun. So God promised which, or that. And then you can, again, conceptually, this stands for, the relative pronouns is related to, it is a relative pronoun relating to something previous. He promised eternal life. So God promised eternal life. But then this next phrase, which is started by a prepositional, so it's a prepositional phrase, surprise, surprise, before chronon, time, aionion, eternal, before time, eternal, or before the ages began. He promised these things long ages ago, as the NASB puts it, or as the ESV has it, before the ages began. So this is giving the time when that promise took place. He promised chronon, and then aionion is giving the kind of the type of time, as it were, before eternal time. Ooh, spilled some English in there. That's not an O, that is an omega. So, which God promised before the ages began. And just briefly to look at the range on aionion, occurs relatively before eternal or since all time. So that is just a snapshot of the hope of eternal life, that is the cause of, or the hope of the apostle and his apostleship specifically, and realizing that that eternal life was promised before time eternal. This is not something that God thought up recently. This is not something that is a whim or an afterthought, but this design for mankind to be able to experience eternal life through Christ is something rooted in God's eternal promises from before time began even. So that is Titus 1:2, and we'll look at Titus 1:3 next.